Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, and this month we are celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Beatles Anthology. This incredible multimedia project was really, for us second generation Beatle fans, the best thing that could ever happen. I mean, it's the closest thing to feeling what Beatlemania was like for our generation. It brought us the entire history of the Beatles in one wonderfully produced documentary series, but it also gave us two brand new Beatles songs in our generation's lifetime, Free as a Bird and Real Love. Today I want to talk about a little bit of the history of the series, more so of what was released, and also just my own little thoughts on it 30 years later, and also about the upcoming Anthology 4, as well as the remastered packages that we're getting. When this series first came out in 95, I was about 12, 13 years old, and a brand new Beatle fan. I fell in love with the Beatles in early 91. My parents took us to a Beatles tribute concert by Beatlemania Live, and that experience changed my life. It made me want to be a musician. And I know it changed my father's life. He wanted to reform his teenage band with his brothers and their good friends, which they did. My uncle bought a Rickenbacker, a 91 John Lennon limited edition remake, and I eventually bought a Hofner bass, which is, both instruments have been an important part of my life as far as me playing out. But in 1992 and 93, I started collecting the core catalog on CD. And I remember a couple Christmases getting some of the more recent releases. I got the 93 editions of the Red and Blue albums on CD. In 94, what was really unique for us, we got the Live at the BBC box set. And what was so unique about that is it was the first real new Beatles album released in our lifetime. And even though a lot of the content was bootlegged over the years and other people had heard it before, it was the first time this music was authorized by the Beatles entity. And the collection really just was an incredible inclusion of to be included in the core catalog. Around 1995, I was working on my own record and very heavily inspired by the Beatles at that point. And I heard word that there was going to be an anthology documentary series going on ABC. And I could not have been more excited, knowing that this documentary series was going to be on ABC right around Thanksgiving time and the holidays, but that we were going to get two new Beatles songs by the surviving Beatles. Paul, George, and Ringo, and that there would be new albums coming out with new material. And so it's just really, really exciting times for me. I remember picking up this Life magazine and being so excited reading through it and kind of discovering some of the images that we were starting to get. Here's one of Paul, George, and Ringo. And so this magazine really was something that I just read through religiously for for a while. And then also the TV Guide had an article inside really kind of getting everybody ready for the anthology series. And also it's got some great pictures of the surviving Beatles together and talking about the upcoming Free as a Bird, Real Love, and potentially Grow Old With Me releases. So there was a lot of talk of 3 new songs at the time that were going to be included as part of one for each episode, which obviously didn't happen, but we'll get into that a little later on.
2 new Beatles songs, the most anticipated event in 30 years, an event no one thought would ever happen. The Beatles Anthology, November 19th.
So the anthology came out. It was incredible. It was an incredible experience. Our whole family, we devoted time for the minute it was going to be on TV, and watching that documentary series and experiencing that unreleased material and those stories. Those 3 nights were pretty incredible. I remember after the first episode seeing Free as a Bird for the first time, that music video, and hearing that song just made me realize, wow, there's a new Beatles song being released in my lifetime. And it to this day still gives me shivers thinking about that new release and what it meant. So Christmas '95, was the first Christmas that I received any kind of Beatles Anthology related stuff. And I got the Beatles Anthology 1 on CD. And that is obviously the 2-volume set. This has the wall sticker on it, if you remember the wall, any of you. The music outlived the wall, folks. What I love about all 3 of these is that this whole anthology multimedia project was completely authorized and approved and thought through by the surviving members. And so what you get here is not just a collection of songs, outtakes, and rare recordings. You're getting stuff that they felt deemed to be worthy of inclusion in this. And therefore, I feel these 3 discs are an integral part of the Beatles discography and deserve to be alongside that. You can't listen to the entire discography without including this afterwards. Also released around this time on CD were 2 singles. You had Free as a Bird, which EPs. Free as a Bird, which contained 3 other songs. I Saw Her Standing There. I believe this was take 1. As well as This Boy. And a 4th recording that has not been released anywhere else since in this form. And that is Christmas Time Is Here Again. It's such an important addition, being that it's the only Christmas song that exists by the Beatles. And it hasn't been released anywhere else. Now, I know that the Christmas records were restored, re-released a couple of years ago as part of that box set. And there's a version of that that's kind of on that, but it's not a complete song. It's kind of cut into the record itself, kind of spread throughout it. So, Apple, if you're listening, do yourselves a favor and put some artwork together and re-release Christmas Time Is Here Again for a record store day exclusive. Guarantee you would sell pretty well. That's just my 2 thoughts. These are the 2 singles. So here's the Real Love single. And what's unique about these, other than the fact that they have those 2 songs plus the additional tracks that are on them, these versions of Free as a Bird and Real Love, they have not been remixed for these collections, but they've been mastered louder. And not brick wall, but they've been mastered louder to encompass the entire width that's allotted for CD. They sound louder, but they're not brick walled. So I really highly recommend that anyone search for these 2 releases. You'll get really great versions of the 95 mixes. Also released around the same time in terms of CDs were the cassettes. So where I got the CDs first, around the time of my birthdays, I would get these cassettes by various friends of mine and family members who knew I had the CDs, but knew I was also looking for the cassettes. So yes, the anthology was available on cassette, volumes 1, 2, and of course 3. And so these were great cassettes because they utilized the best available quality for cassettes at the time. Dolby digital noise reduction. Dolby noise reduction, not digital, but Dolby noise reduction was available on these, which isn't being utilized on cassettes anymore. And those CD singles were available on cassette as well. Around this time, The Wall, which was my primary music store, did also have the individual 45s of the 2 releases. So you got Free as a Bird, as well as Christmas Time Is Here Again. Again, the only way that you can get that song is on this single. And it was available on CD, cassette, and vinyl, but it has not really been re-released since. And here's Real Love as a 45. So it was fun to listen to these songs in the 90s on record, on vinyl, when they were available. A couple of years later, I did pick up the vinyl releases of all 3 volumes. And the thing about the original vinyl releases, I only opened the first one, but the subsequent releases are probably similar, is that they're pretty flimsy vinyl. But I can tell you right now, the new releases are probably going to be at least 180 gram, probably pressed at optimum. Germany, so I would really recommend those. If you're looking for this collection on vinyl, get the new releases. Not only are they going to be remixed in various places, but they're all remastered and they're going to sound great. Now, regarding the anthology home video releases, for Christmas I got this, the Beatles Anthology Laserdisc set, and that's what this is. And this was the best way to watch movies in the 90s because the picture quality was pretty spectacular. And so for those of you who don't know what a Laserdisc is, imagine a vinyl record, or imagine a CD the size of a vinyl record. This is a 12-inch disc, but is a video format. And while it's not as good as a DVD, I would say it's kind of in between VHS and a DVD. The sound quality of these are really good because they're uncompressed audio. And so they just sound really great. Later that year for my birthday, I was gifted the VHS collection of the anthology. And I never opened this because I had the VHS that I taped, and I also had the Laserdisc, and I knew there was nothing new here, so I thought, let me just keep it and keep it sealed, which is what I did. So that is the 8-volume expanded version of the VHS series. Again, similar to the Laserdisc set. Then, of course, there's the anthology book that came out in 2000. And what's unique about this is there's more content within the book than what's shown even the 8-part anthology. So if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. Definitely worth checking out. A couple years later, the DVD series came out. And this was really where the series got improved. And you get the same expanded Laserdisc VHS variant, but you also get a special features disc which has a lot of behind-the-scenes content with Paul, George, and Ringo and George Martin talking about the making of the series, talking about the making of Freeze a Bird and Real Love at the time. So it's definitely worth checking that out. You can get that for pretty cheap nowadays. Now, in 2023, we got that third Beatles song, which we all know obviously to be Now and Then. And what an incredible joy to have received this. When I heard that they were going to work on this, when Paul and Ringo were going to work on it, I was really amazed. I thought, what a great way to technically conclude the Beatles story. By having a song called Now and Then, with the lyrics, I miss you, and that sort of, it could mean so many things, and it alludes to so many things that we all hope and wonder and reminisce as Beatle fans.
Yeah, I mean,
are they ever going to get back together?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, is there any possibility? But secondly, much more important, do you think that it's a good idea?
Well, that's another point altogether, whether it'd be a good idea or not. You see, it's strange, because at one period when they were asking me, I was saying, no, never, what the hell, go back, no, not me. And then there came to a period when I thought, well, why not?
That was available, obviously, on vinyl. I have the 12-inch that was released in red vinyl. This is the Now and Then song. The opposite side obviously has the demixed and remixed version of Ringo Starr's version of Love Me Do. So it's great to see Now and Then on that release. And of course, being the last Beatles song, this was released on many versions. You had the 12-inch, which you saw there. There was a 10-inch that existed too that sold out pretty fast, and they wanted, eBay wanted like hundreds of dollars for it, and ridiculous, whatever it is. But they also had different variants, color variants on the 45 version. So you got a marble edition, you got a blue vinyl edition, and then you also got a clear vinyl edition, as well as the standard black edition. All of these were half-speed mastered by Miles Shaw, and they look and sound great. And Now and Then was also available on CD as a standard CD single that had Love Me Do as the second track. In the 90s, we got cassette singles of Freeze a Bird and Real Love. If you were like me and you collected everything from the CDs to the vinyl to the cassettes, I wanted to do the same thing with Now and Then, and I did pick up the very rare, very limited release cassette version of Now and Then. Kind of emulates what the demo would have looked like, John Lennon's original demo. Pretty cool. Yeah. Now, all of that to say, obviously we're now beginning to experience Volume 4, which is the latest release of this anthology story, followed as well by a fully restored, remastered Volumes 1, 2, and 3, and video documentary that'll be coming out on Disney+. I'm looking forward to that new episode. I imagine it's going to be a lot from the special features disc on the DVD, but I'm looking forward to being surprised by new content. Hopefully they talk more about Now and Then, and hopefully we see some stuff that hasn't been released yet. What do you guys think? Are you excited about this new release? Do you like the new mixes? Do you prefer the old mixes? Do you prefer the plus one 2015 mixes? Let me know in the comments. I'll certainly answer any questions you guys have to my best knowledge. But till then, enjoy, and I'll see you soon.